Ladies and gentlemen, if I can kindly have your attention, please. The family is going to be entering the chapel momentarily. Ladies and gentlemen, if we can kindly keep it to this silence in front of Shael's casket until the family comes in and we begin the service. Just a couple things before they come in. One is be sure your cell phones have been turned off. We welcome those of you who are joining us via live stream. For those who are going to the cemetery, and I'll announce this at the end of the service, please do not approach the family till after the burial. Then we'll do a shura, and the family will walk through, and that's the time you can offer the traditional words or words from your heart. It is warm outside. We want to make sure that they're healthy, they're safe, and so are you. So please do not approach the family, and they're not going to come out to the limousine until everyone's in their cars. So please take a moment now as a last and gentle reminder to turn off your phones. Rabbi Asher Lopatin and Rabbi Michael Schwab will be officiating. When the family walks in, we'll ask everyone to rise and stand in place. Then we'll be seated as one community. Thank you. We're honored and humbled to have representatives from the United States Army for military honors. Also, again, Rabbi Asher Lopatin and Rabbi Michael Schwab will be officiating. This time we begin the military portion of the funeral ceremony.
In memory of Shael Siegel, I'm now going to recite from Psalm 15, which speaks about a person of integrity, which is one of his many, many incredible attributes. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai mi yagor bo alecha mishkon behar kodshecha, holech tamim ufoal tzedek v'dover emet bilvavo, lo ragal al leshono, lo asal re'ora v'charpa l'nasal krovo, nivzeh beinav nimas v'tirei Adonai yechabed, nishbal harav v'lo yamir, kaz polonatan b'neshech v'shochan anakilo lakach, o sei lo yimotz le'olam. Psalm of David. Do we deserve to enter into God's sanctuary? Can we merit a place in the presence of God? Live with integrity, do what is right, speak the truth, have no slander on your tongue, do no evil to others, do not mistreat your neighbor. Spurn those who are contemptible, honor those who revere God. Never retract a promise once made, though it may bring you harm. Lend no money at unfair rates, accept no bribe against the innocent. Make these deeds your own, and you shall stand firm forever. I'm now going to recite Psalm 23 in the Hebrew, and I'll invite any of you who would like to afterwards to recite the English with me, which is inside your service folder. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai roi lo echsar, binoteh sheyar bitzeni, amei menuchot yinahaleni, nafshi yeshovev, Yancheni v'maglei tzedek leman shemo, gam ki elech begeit salmavet, lo yirara ki atay madihi, shivtecha mishan techa hema yenachamuni, taroch lefanai shulchan neged tzorai, dishanta v'Hashem en roshi kosi revaya, ach tov v'chesed yudufuni kol yemei chayai, v'shavti b'veit Adonai leorech yamim. For those who'd like to join me, let's read Psalm 23 in the English. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. In thinking about Shael, a number of quotes came to mind. One I'll share now, and a couple I'll share in a few moments. But this one is from Talmud Bavli from Brachot. Ashrei mi shegadal b'Torah v'amalo b'Torah v'oseh nachat ruach liyotzro v'gadal b'shem tov v'nivtar b'shem tov min ha'olam. Blessed is the one who was reared in Torah, who labored in Torah, who pleased our Creator, who lived with a good reputation, and who died with a good name. This is the life of Shael Siegel. I now want to call upon a few people to share some words. First, I'm going to call Michael, his son, to share some words about his father.
I was moved by the military. I was moved by the military honor. I was caught off guard by how I was transported, really in a way I've never felt, to his being a young man in Europe, in Austria, serving with, I know, earnestness and dedication. And it was, louder, closer? Oh, some people have a little... So it was very, very powerful, that moment that brought me to being in his presence as a young man before I was born, and I felt his being there, and it was very powerful and moving. My dad taught me the meaning and strength. My dad taught me that meaning and strength come from staying connected to ideals greater than yourself. But I sometimes worried he put himself too far back in line. His devotion to God, to his people, to service was absolute. I admired it deeply, but I also wanted him to bend the rules a little, to make more room for fun and some guilty pleasures. So it made me happy to catch those flashes of delight. When I was 10, I watched him choose the color for his Buick 225, a deep metallic green. Later came a tobacco brown Mercedes. He cared for those cars like they were sacred spaces. The interior felt almost like a place you could make kiddush. I remember the twinkle in his eyes when he took us to a restaurant and we watched Caesar salad made at our table, complete with a raw egg and an anchovy. Once, when paying the bill, he borrowed a pen from another waiter, and when he returned it, he slipped in a folded $5 bill. I thought, was he a Moroccan prince? For a man so humble, it was a playful, secret gesture. I observed more of this when we traveled, which lit him up. But also near home, he would lead us to enchanted experiences. He helped us launch rockets in a nearby field, gifted and guided my brothers to an expansive, dreamy assembly of a Lionel train set, joined our cousins snowmobiling through snowy forest trails. My dad taught me something essential, that we can live in service to ideals beyond ourselves, but still look for the wonder to be shared with the people we love. As my dad passed 90 and his mind started to drift, the visits to the ice cream parlor were not small events. They were pilgrimages taken by his family and friends who could not help but continue to root for the blessings of this noble man. Thank you.
Eric also wrote some words, and he's going to have his niece Hannah read it on his behalf.
Hello, can everyone hear me? Yeah? Okay. Eric told me in the car that he cries at everything just like his dad, so I had to deliver this, but I'm the exact same way, so but I didn't tell Eric that until just now because I'm going to do my best to read the beautiful words that he wrote. I am going to miss my dad dearly. So much of what I am today is due to all that he gave me. He was hardworking and thoughtful. He was steadfast and principled. He was learned and committed, and he even had a little zeal for style and quality, like, say, his Lucchese cowboy boots that I still have. But most importantly, he enjoyed a profound love and respect for our heritage in the state of Israel. My dad left for work every day at like 5:30 a.m., but he always made it home for dinner. He was in a business my mom's father started, and originally my uncles also worked there. Ultimately, they sold their shares, and my dad got a new, energetic, and honorable partner named Jack Radecki. They were a good fit, including the fact that Dad would work on Easter and Christmas and Jack covered Yom Tov. Their office in Bellwood, Illinois had a mini brick warehouse attached with a lot filled of cool, medium-sized city trucks, all with sliding doors on both sides. Plus, they even had their own gas pump on site. I used to love going there on weekends or school holidays. The really special part was the one time I had with Dad around lunch, and we would go to his favorite restaurant, Rex's, where he went literally every day, for decades. They always had a special pre-made salad for him every day. I suspect no ham and turkey. On special occasions, we would go to Golda's Hot Dogs on Roosevelt. I am pretty sure he enjoyed kibutzing with Golda too, besides her serving true kosher hot dogs. Admittedly, in Tokyo now, I too eat at the same restaurant 4 times a week. It's Oishi? I did it correctly. Japanese for tasty. Speaking of salads, our dad loved to eat big salads. Even over these last months, he would literally spend 30 minutes, yes, this is true, meticulously preparing super hearty salads for himself and my mom and guests, doused with lots of his beloved olive oil and dressing. Hawks games were a big part of our childhood special event calendar. We either had a share of season tickets or something, but we went to a lot of games. My dad would literally carry me in on his shoulders until he was 7+ years old, until I was 7+ years old, because he only had 4 tickets with 5 in the family. I'm not really sure who loved that more, him or me, but the thrill of sneaking through those ticket gates in his strong embrace was pretty great. And I think it set a sense of confidence for me going forward, knowing that I could always count on him to protect me. Admittedly, one of the worst things I think my dad ever did to me was to threaten to not take me with the family to one of the Hawks games if I would not eat the Kaufman's corned beef sandwich on rye bread with seeds. As many of you know, I can be quite picky, and he thought that one was just too much, and therefore tried to hold the line at caraway seeds. It was skiing that was his greatest sport he passed on to his family. I stared out at 4 years old in between his legs, and all 3 of us boys became pretty decent natural skiers. Wonderfully so, our mom also became a pretty solid skier in her own right, which made the annual family ski trips that much more enjoyable. To this day, my dad still displayed his NASTAR medals by his bedside. I am blessed with so many wonderful memories, too many to repeat here. A few random points which I thought I would share are: when my dad was in college, he worked summers in resorts in the Catskills. He was a waiter during the day, and at night, my mom says that he had to dance with the lady guests whose husbands went home for the week. When my parents went on their honeymoon to the Concord Hotel, Mom said that he was a really good dancer. He also enjoyed playing in basketball leagues from the staffs in the various resorts. I didn't know this. When my father had to go up against the Tribune, who were trying to take his business away, ironically, the Wasp's Tribune at the time hired Sonnenskeen. I don't know. So you had a bunch of snarky blue chip lawyers against my dad, a true mensch. Interestingly, my father ended up hiring Richard Felon before he went on to political office. The two maintained a nice friendship. My dad loved to ride his bike on the forest preserve trails and did a lot of that after his early retirement. He got bike racks, and they even took long trips in Vermont as well as even Italy. Dad was evidently one of the older guys on the second trip. He was always in really good shape and continued exercising even at 90. As mentioned previously, my parents traveled extensively internationally, including visiting Japan multiple times and literally all throughout APAC. Many of the places I now travel for work, plus many more. So 6+ years ago, when I received the opportunity to relocate to Japan, my parents were the most supportive of all. So here, they did everything for me my entire life, and now, at the time when they were most in need, they still remained fully supportive, curious, and proud of my new personal and professional adventures. By the way, back to the Hawks game he was threatening to not take me to. I am pretty sure he ultimately caved, and I still got to go that night. That sounds like my dad. But I for sure still do not eat rye bread with seeds. You're missing out, Eric. Maybe I made up for it by agreeing to eat one of my parents' amazing homemade potato latkes. Lovingly, every Hanukkah, my parents would together make enough latkes for not only the holiday, but also to freeze for many future Shabbat meals when I would visit during or post-college. I'm telling you, my parents' latkes are truly some of the best tasting ever. For the record, my mom is a great cook, not such a great baker, though. Is that even true? But it was Shabbat dinner every week, without question, that seeded the original foundation of our family's love for Judaism. And passing on that deeply rooted foundation his parents and grandparents established before him. My father's mother, Sarah, first moved from her birthplace of McKeesport, Pennsylvania to Jaffa, Palestine in 1920, and then back again in the early 30s to Bnei Brak, where his grandmother is now buried. Passover and Rosh Hashanah celebrations were a constant source of joy for him, and he loved preparing for those meals and leading the seders filled with aunts, uncles, and cousins. Treasured memories in both Chicago and Peoria every year without fail, and then shifting to St. Louis in the later years. Although I remember one year we took the annual ski trip to Colorado, but had to observe kosher for Passover rules even while vacationing in Aspen. That definitely drove the point home that he was not goofing around about Judaism. He wasn't. By the way, how about the fact that my dad started taking his family to Aspen and Vail in 1972, long before there was an Eisenhower tunnel? My parents dutifully provided all of us many great summers at Camp Ramah, which has formed such an important part of my life and Jewish identity. But of course, it was his passionate love for the state of Israel that had the most profound impact on me. And he taught me so much of the deep history of the state's founding, giving me the tools to be the proud and educated Zionist I am today. My parents' first trip to Israel was in 1968, and then a prolonged family trip in 1974. I was an impressionable 9-year-old and had wonderful lifelong memories, even getting my first sip of beer on the Carlsberg factory tour. I'm going to pause and say that one of my favorite memories with Zadie also has to do with beer. I remember ordering a Stella Artois with him, and he got so excited because that was his favorite beer too, and we had arrived there independently, and he thought that was the most special thing ever. Anyways, even in their 60s, my parents showed their love for the state by volunteering 4 different times on IDF Army camps. Fatigues, separate housing, the whole deal. My dad worked on cleaning and fixing tank parts, utilizing some of the skills he gained with his trucks at the news agency. And to the very last days, we had enjoyable Israel politics-related discussions, and I always learned something new. He was rightfully quite proud of and spoke highly of his service days in the U.S. military basic training at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and then off to Germany to help identify any lingering Nazi influences at the local governments and reconstituted military units. There are too many to name who have shown our family tremendous compassion, for which we are truly humbled, including for Mom's incredibly valor fight against her recent illness. I cannot stress how strong and devoted of a wife our mom has been, especially these past few months in caring for my father. She's been amazing. Again, too many, but wanted to especially thank our beloved cousins, Gila, Tamar, and Helene, for your unending level of concern and efforts on behalf of our parents, especially with me being so far away. My parents' devoted and cherished lifelong friends, Moisha and Lori Rosen, clearly all that intense exercising and healthy eating, and of course your beautiful family and a little singing really paid off. Also, my parents world travel partners, Barry and Meryl Gross, the holiest of the holiest. We love you, Barry and Meryl, and are praying for you every day. Ultimately, it is my brother Michael, to whom I owe the greatest debt of gratitude. You are my guiding light. I need you now more than ever, along with all my other beloved friends and family. I am so incredibly proud to have had Shael Siegel as my father and grateful for all that he has done for me. Those who took the time to get to know him were the better for it. Shaul Ben Zev HaLevy, Zionist, may your memory be a blessing.
I'm honored to have my colleague, Rabbi Asher Lepatin, here, who is friends with Eric, and also a beloved colleague who used to be here in Chicago. We miss you, but we're glad you're here today.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Schwab. It's an honor to be here. And it's also an honor to have Rabbi Andy Shear here as well, who is Eric's rabbi in Tokyo. This is Shabbat Nachamu. This is the Shabbat of comfort. And I know Shaul Ben Zev HaLevy, Zionist, would want us to experience that comfort. What? Menachem Avraham. Wow. Yeah. And really, we hear the life of a great man, and when we experience this Shabbat, the Parsha that we're going to read, Vayetchanan, really follows his life. First of all, I want to say to have a funeral on Friday, on Erev Shabbat, to be returned to the earth on Erev Shabbat is a big zchut. And I don't know if it's the family minhag, but many say Eshet Chayil on Friday nights. And I know Myrna, Eric, has always talked about you as Eshet Chayil, as an incredible wife, as we just heard, a devoted partner. This parsha starts with Moshe begging God to get to go to the land of Israel. And thank God, Shael and Myrna and the family were able to go. And I think of the story of Shael begging the Israeli army to let him fight in the Yom Kippur War, but he was a little bit too old, so did volunteer for Sarah at other times. But thank God, 68, 74, many other times, Moshe would gain a lot of comfort from Shael being able to really be such a devoted lover of Israel, and I know that was passed down so strongly to the children. And then we heard a little bit about, and we experienced the great service that Shael did to our country, to America, for our country, in serving in the 50s, and also to the Jewish people in some of the DP camps. And this parsha says that the Gentiles of the world will say, what a wise nation the Jewish people are. Am chacham ben avon, hagoy gadol hazeh. And if you read the obituary in his teachers in kindergarten didn't think his Yiddish accent was actually something so wise and brilliant. But then as you read on, thank God, the American military did use that. And he was able to use that brilliance of knowing Yiddish and then German to really do some very important service, not only to the world by finding out who were the Nazis still embedded in the German people, but also being able to do a service for the German army to release it from people that would be bad Nazi elements. So Shael showed how brilliant our tradition is, and he was proud of it and never having to apologize for it. And finally, one of the classics of this parsha is the Shema and Ve'ahavta and V'shinantam levanecha. the commandment to pass down that passion to children. And I know Shaul Ben Zev HaLevy had that passion from his parents and their parents, and he passed it down. And that's a great comfort. I know that Shael, and Shemayim in the heavens will be comforted by knowing that his passions and his dedication will be continued by his children, his grandchildren, his great-grandchildren, and all those people that his children influence, myself, many rabbis included, that passion. Just want to conclude with the HaLevy. These are Siegels, Skan Levim, these are Levites. And Maimonides, the Rambam says that really a Levi represents, and Michael, I believe you said this, just a dedication, a sincere dedication to this world, to God, to the world. And it's anyone, Jew or non-Jew. And I know how much Shael valued righteous Gentiles, non-Jews, who did amazing things. And so in that spirit of a great Levi who has left us, let's derive comfort that he leaves behind an amazing family that's going to continue that Levite tradition, that tradition of Shaul Ben Zev HaLevy. And may his dear family and may all of us gain comfort on this Shabbat Nachamu. And God willing, we'll continue the tradition, and may Shaul Ben Zev HaLevy be a teacher, not just Levanecha for children, but all of us. May we all learn from his way, and may we continue his passion and his life's devotions.
Over the past 21 years at Bethel, I've had a lot of opportunities to talk to Shael and, of course, to Myrna, and to really get to know his character and who he was. And when I do think about Shael, I thought about a couple of wonderful classic Jewish quotes that may or may not be familiar to you, and I want to share them and explain how they connect to Shael. The first is from the prophetic book of Micah, chapter 6, verse 8. Higid lecha adam ma tov ma Adonai doresh mimcha, ki masot mishpat va'avad chesed, v'atznei lechet im Elohecha. God has told you, O mortal, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you? Only to do justice, to love goodness, and to walk modestly with your God. And the second is from the great Rav Saadia Gaon, who said, the Jewish nation is a nation only by the virtue of Torah. As Micha exhorted us to be, Shael was a man who cared deeply about doing the right thing, about pursuing justice, about being righteous. He was honest, he was forthright, he told you exactly what he was thinking, and he told you how it was. He was simple, he was modest, and he loved his family. He was a great husband, and he was a passionate, passionate Jew who loved Israel deeply, really loved his Jewish practice, and never, ever, ever stopped learning. As the Rav Saadia Gaon said, the Jewish nation is a nation only by virtue of Torah. He was an Ohev Yisrael 100% and a huge mensch. It is my very sad honor, therefore, to extend my condolences and those of Rabbi Fredman and Rabbi Kurtz in Israel, who I spoke with, and those, of course, of our entire congregation, the NSS Bethel, to your entire family, to Shael's devoted wife, to Myrna, to his cherished children, Eric, Michael, and Kelly, Marc and Debbie, his beloved grandchildren, Shaina and Avi, Jeremy, Hannah, and Ben, and to his loving siblings, Jack and Joy, as well as Howard and Paula. And to all of us, the rest of his treasured family and friends, my prayer is that the words we utter and the traditions we observe provide some measure of comfort to all of us at a difficult time. As many of you know and was already intimated by the words that came before me, Shael came from a family devoted to Judaism in Israel. So he truly came by it honestly. His own parents moved to Jaffa in the pre-state period when living there was very difficult. It's rare to have such lineage. And they provided a strong Jewish education, including studies at yeshiva. This dedication to being a Jew, pride in being a Jew, devotion to synagogue, Jewish living in Israel was simply a part of his DNA. I could never separate any of those things from Shael as a person. This was attested to me in his adult life, every Shabbat and holiday, as he and Myrna were there, absolute regulars at Bethel. During my tenure over the last 21 years, Shael often led Psukei de Zimra with great skill, and he had an excellent command of the Hebrew liturgy. And he loved Israel. I am told he's one of the first AIPAC members and conference attendees when they measured their annual gatherings in the low hundreds instead of the tens of thousands. At Kiddush, he would often find me to discuss Israel or to share something he read in a book or an article about Jewish or Zionist history. And he never, ever stopped reading and learning. He took so many classes at Bethel. He came to all of our lectures and our scholars. I was told he took classes at Northwestern as well for 20 years after he retired. And I know he attended lectures and studied in many other places. He was a consummate learner, and he absorbed everything. How Jewish is that? If you wanted to know about Jewish history, World War II, the Holocaust, or anything about Israel, he was definitely your man. He was an excellent docent at the Holocaust Museum, and he learned a great deal of Torah too, always attentive and making astute comments in class. Eric shared with me, as he intimated in his remarks through Hannah, that his Passover Seders were epic. But they were also very serious. They had maps, discussions, extra sources from underlined books, and readings for everyone. Eric also said that he liked to set the table for Shabbos each week and each holiday. It's a sweet little memory that you gave me, and even though it's not mine, to think of him doing that. Observance of Jewish life was critical to him, and this is something I deeply admired about him. He was a rock, a constant, a wonderful student, and a great teacher. He was also a mensch of a man whose coworkers and employees respected and loved him, as did his fellow regulars at Bethel. As you heard, he was a hard worker, rising early, dedicating himself to the news agency where he worked for decades. He did his job with integrity and pride and provided for his family, and he was a role model to his children. Eric and Michael already spoke about him as a dad, so I just want to focus on his greatest love, which is that for Myrna. She said that after he came back from the army, where he served with distinction, as you heard, so I won't go back into that, in the Korean War and in the DP camps, his father was sick and he decided to stay close and not go back to law school. So he went to Roosevelt, where she attended. She was dating a friend at first, so they started simply as friends. But when the other relationship ended, they started dating and they never looked back. They married at Shari Tikva. They built their lives together. She told me he was an excellent husband, that he helped around the house, he washed the floors and the windows, he ironed, and he always made the bed just so, as he learned in the army. She told me that he was respectful of her and he cared for her. And they enjoyed Jewish life together and lots of traveling, as you heard, including in Israel in 1968 and many, many times after. Myrna, you were a dedicated wife. You loved Shael very much and took care of him always. I know you will miss him very much, as will many of us here. And I just hope that your memories with him and the impression he has made on your life will always stay with you. Personally, I will always cherish our Kiddush discussions, his participation in my classes, his love for synagogue community, and picturing him in a seat in our sanctuary. Our community will be diminished with him no longer physically with us. May the memory of Shael Siegel, Shaul Ben Zev HaLevy, always be for a blessing, and let us all please say, Amen. I'm going to ask if you're able to please stand as Rabbi LePatin recites the memorial prayer in his memory.
El gadol malei rachamim, shochein bamromim, hamtzei menucha nechona al kanfei hashechina, b'malot kedoshim utehorim, kezoar harakia mazhirim, et nishmat Shaul Ben Zev HaLevy, shehalach leolamo, bavur she'anachnu mitpalalim be'ad hazkarat nishmato, began Eden tehei menuchato, lachein balarachamim yastirehu, beseitir kenafav leolamim, veitzror bitzror hachayim, et nishmato. Adonai hu nachalato, ve'anuach b'shalom al mishkavo, v'nomar amen.
Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure, to the soul of Shaul Ben Zev HaLevy, to Shael Siegel, who has gone to his eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May his soul be bound in the bond of everlasting life. May he always rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. Amen. Please be seated. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the interment service will continue at West Lawn Cemetery, located at 7801 West Montrose in Norridge. The family will be together at the Tamarisk, and also Sunday through Wednesday at the Tamarisk and then North Suburban Synagogue in the evening hours. Please look at the service folder because there are different times, different locations. And for those of you who are joining us online, information about the Shiva and the memorial contributions are all on the funeral home's website. The family suggests any charity that supports the state of Israel would be appreciated in Shael's memory. For those of you who will be driving in the funeral procession, the procession will be forming in our parking lot. Please obtain an orange safety funeral sticker to place on the right-hand side of your windshield. Have your bright lights and hazard lights on at all times. For additional measures of safety, please use your horn liberally as you're going through the intersections. Please do not speak on your cellular phone while driving to a cemetery, and just be aware of the surrounding around with the lights and the changing. The following people have been asked to serve as pallbearers. When I call your name, please stand next to Shael's casket. Moish Rosen, Barry Gross, Jeff Brodsky, Matthew Brodsky, Hannah Siegel, Kelly Siegel, Abra Siegel, Geila Fredman, and Tamar Fredman. I ask everyone to please rise and stand in place as we escort the casket of our dear Shael Siegel from the chapel. Then everyone can return to your cars. For those of you who are going in the funeral procession, please go to your cars immediately. For those of you who are not, please exit the parking lot immediately due to the fact we want to have the procession set up in a dignified, respectful manner.